Hey everybody, what's up? I pray y'all have had a great day. It is great to be back in the house of the Lord and even back just teaching and talking about how good God is. We're dealing with a subject on tonight, and we won't be long. The reality of carnality. And we have been looking at it, or we've started looking at it from chapter 3, Colossians 10 through 15. But I want to backtrack and go back to chapter 1, or chapter 3, verse 1 on tonight, just to give us some nuggets, some basic things that will help us. I don't know about anybody else, but I have spent a lot of time being carnal. And let's just call it like it is. Carnality, the definition has in it, it's not only about being sexual or sensual. It's not only, it says especially, which means it's not the only component. And we get stuck thinking that because we're not sexual anymore, or we're not, have never been sexual, that we are not carnal. But if you were like me at one point and you spent a lot of time trying to prove points, I'm going to show them better than I can tell you, I do all of that stuff. First of all,
no, 1,000 times no.
Why? Because it's carnal. Just approaching life trying to obtain or get the things that people say you should have in order to be somebody, carnal. Chasing things that, for all intents and purposes, don't lead us to more godly things. Let's be honest. John Carnal, we used to have a thing in church where we said that a person was being carnal based on how they were shouting and stuff like that. Probably judging their shout was carnal. You see what I'm saying? There's so many things that are beyond the scope of sexual intent that make us carnal. And so there's some realities to carnality that I want to deal with. But on tonight, that's just the backdrop. On tonight, I want to say to people who hear the word carnality or carnal and immediately get offended, not only is that carnal, but chill, chill out. Just work. Just do the work. Just work on it. Nobody wants to talk about this in church, but there are a lot of carnal churches, carnal church folk. And so Paul starts off chapter 3 by telling us, if you then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Stop basically looking for everything else, because God sets above, or Christ is above, and that's where he is. And you know where he is. Not only is he setting up there, but he's on the right hand. And then Paul basically goes into the litany of why we should seek Christ. Why we should seek Christ. He says, if is always introducing, watch this, some type of conditionality. Okay? So, here's the reality. Our carnality is always introducing us to some type of condition, some type of some type of, conditional love, conditional something. We spend so much time conditioning ourselves to not be conditioned that we are absolutely conditioned. And it is amazing how he just starts off right there. I'm not going into a deep dissertation tonight, but for the sake of time, but there is a problem with us when we stop seeking God and just start relying on other stuff. He goes into it. He says, because basically, if you don't do that, you're going to set your affections, verse 2, on things above. If you don't do that, then you're going to set them on things on the earth. Okay. If you're not setting your affections on things above, then you're setting them at the ground floor, the ground level. Okay, let me say that again. If you don't set your affections on things above, the proper things, the reason that you need God in your life, and not just kind of got God, some, okay, then you're going to set your affections on ground level things. Here we go. That's how we get to the place where we say carnality is more than sexuality. The reality of carnality is it introduces us to a big bag of conditional or conditionalities that are ground level. And so we begin to care about the things that appease ground level. Does that make sense? We begin to have a mind melt, if you will, regarding godly things, and we hear things through fleshly eyes, fleshly heart, fleshly mind. Okay? And so if we're not careful, that will continue our life like that. We will continue our spiritual walk in a carnal manner. And like I said, we're just setting the backdrop on tonight for this because we want to help deal with some things that continuously trip us up, that we don't talk about, that aren't even sexual in the church. Okay? So set your affections on things above, not on things on the ground level. Earth, flesh. You think of earth, you think flesh. Okay? For why? Verse 3, you are dead, and your life is hid with Christ. Saying, everything you do should be under the auspice or hidden behind the hood, if you will, of Christ. Does that make sense? And I don't mean hood in the streets hood. I mean hood as in under the cloak of Christ. So we are dead and our life is hid with Christ. How? In God. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Okay? He's basically saying that the truth is our lives should be sold out to Christ. Now, here's how we get carnal. Here's how we roll carnally. And we miss it all the time. Just be honest. We miss it all the time. We think that our lives are ours and we have the right to compartmentalize what is and what isn't God's. Does that make sense? We do it all the time. We think that our time is ours, and so we should be able to do what we want to do apart from God. We compartmentalize God Christ, the church, we will absolutely step back to say things like, I got to do me. We say that, but that's carnal. How can you say you're going to do you apart from God when you don't even know if you're going to wake up tomorrow? I have been inundated this week with deaths of people who were younger than 50 or 50 and younger. Okay? I have been, and my church knows this, but I have been ripping and running for the last 2 years. My leaders know this. The last 2.5 years, trying to figure out what is wrong with my son. On top of my other children's health issues, and on top of my other children experiencing death from other areas in their lives. And what I'm telling you is life happens all the time, and we can't compartmentalize life apart from God. And what has happened in the church and in our community, which never happened before, but is happening now, is that we are deciding where we want to introduce God and where God should be in our lives. That's because we're listening to the world and worldly folk around us, and we think that our lives should look and reflect their lives. But the truth is, our life and our lives should reflect Christ. Why? Because we are dead, and our life, that which was worldly, that which was carnal, that which was not of God, has now been submitted to the will of Christ Jesus in God. That sums it up. If we are doing anything outside of the will of God, that is a sin. And generally, it's conditional. And generally, the reality of it is that we're carnal. We don't like that. We don't like that. That is a problem, but we don't like that. Now, we're going to fix it. We're going to work on it. And I said, we. I didn't say you. I didn't say her. I didn't say him. I said, we. Because all of us have spent some time in Carnalville. Amen. Amen. Most don't talk about it. Most try to duck it. Most, because let me go to another carnal piece so we can fix some stuff. Because it's carnal to pretend like you got it all together. And that's how we grew up in church. I don't know about nobody else, but we were told, you don't tell nobody your stuff and your business. I just experienced something on this past Sunday that was so wonderful. The people of God had a breakout moment because they were transparent. They were being honest. They were tired of pretending and faking and being carnal and saying, hey, I got it all together and I feel good. No, I don't. And that's what we need. Okay? God can handle it. Church folk can't handle it. Pastors and preachers and the ecclesia, and they can't handle the reality of somebody being tired, somebody being burnt out, somebody saying, listen, I am tired. But God can handle it. So Christ, who is in our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Why is that important? That's important because glory means in honor in that text. Excuse me. In glory means in dignity in that text. And when you are carnal, generally, you are hiding something or overcompensating for something, or you are ashamed of something. And when you are ashamed, you do shameful things. Okay? So when you show up, when you appear in carnality, well, let's go to verse 5. Mortification begins to happen. So Paul says in verse 5, he says, listen, subdue your own desires. Stop rocking out on how you feel, because how you feel is contrary to what God is telling us, what the word is telling us. Now it runs the list. And this is where we all get stuck. It says, mortify therefore your members. Okay? Mortify therefore your members. That means subdue them. Okay? Deaden them. Necros. That means to kill it. Okay? Let me say this. There are some conversations that we need to kill because they're carnal. And if you're left up to your own devices in your own head, you will begin to believe what you are saying. And the devil will infuse that, and it will grow into a big ball of carnality. I'm going to use me for example. I've had this conversation with people over and over, but I'm going to share this with you. There were many of people who showed up for my mother's homegoing celebration. Everything was a blur, okay? I'm just showing you how carnality creeps in. In my mind, I had written off 1,000 to 5,000 people who did not show up for my mother's service because I know people knew my mama. I was mad at the world. I didn't think it went right. I didn't think she was treated right. I didn't think it was announced right. I didn't think it. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, nothing went well. Skip past all the people who had helped me. Skip past all the church members from my church that showed up. Skip past all of those young ladies that had served, and I wanted for nothing, but it wasn't good enough because of what did not happen. I pointed that out because everything was a blur. I couldn't even tell you who was and who was not there for real because everything was a blur. And one day I thought about it. The Lord led me out of it, and I had to mortify that feeling of blaming other people or beefing with other people. Excuse my slang, but y'all know what it is. Mad with people who didn't show up, and I don't know what they had to do. You understand? Hear what I'm saying to you. One, I can't make plans for somebody else's life to attend something that I planned based on something that nobody knew was going to happen. Hear what I'm saying? Hear what I'm saying? Hear what I'm saying? Conditional. Carnality led me into conditional thinking. And conditional thinking is often based in something, I don't really want to say, but our traditional thinking. Like when you say something, everybody ought to do what you say do just because you said do it. That's narcissistic. That's a whole lot. And the people who follow were there. Hear me. My members were there. Y'all not hearing what I'm saying? It was a blur. Now fast forward almost 12 years, 13 years later, I counsel people in this. First thing I tell them is it's going to be a blur. You're not going to remember everything, and there are going to be people who you thought should have did X, Y, and Z who really did. You just don't even know they came through. And then there are going to be people who don't, and that's okay because you don't know what they had to do on that day. When you're planning for your mother, your father, a loved one's death, you don't consult anybody and say, hey, are y'all good on Friday? You don't do that. You know what you do? You handle your business. So now I'm viewing everybody through my distorted perspective or perception of what they should be doing for me, when in turn I have no idea what they are supposed to be doing because they don't even know about my mom's stuff. Yo, that's not sexual, but it is carnal. It's carnal, and it's egotistical, and it's arrogant, and a lot of times those are the words we leave out of carnality. definitely a problem. This text, verse 5, and I'm gone after this one, says, therefore your members which are upon the earth, wow, hear it? Our members which are upon the earth, and that doesn't mean church members, that means our body parts, things of that nature, our limbs, things that are fleshly, are upon the earth. Why is it giving us that? Because it's saying it's flesh upon flesh. We'll deal with that later. When you got flesh upon flesh, it leads to fornication. Now here we go with the sexual part. Okay? Okay? And I'll get into that later, but because that word there is where we get the word pornography or pornographic images from. But hear what I said. Remember, distorted mind, and now we got distorted images. Okay? So he says fornication, uncleansingness, inordinate affections, evil. Okay, it's running down the gambit of the list. Okay? And it says, listen, the wrath of God cometh on the children of disobedience. My brothers and my sisters, the reason we got to clean up the carnality in our lives and stop being carnal is because it leaves carnage. Yeah, God's coming to visit the disobedience of those who are walking after the flesh. We've got to learn how to apply the next steps and start growing daily in our spirituality. I'm going to end with prayer tonight. I'm not going to take any questions tonight. I just wanted to give us a backdrop on how we got here and what we're going to do about it. So here we go. Here's some next steps for you if you are living a carnal life. I don't need you to wave your hands. I don't need you to comment in the comment section. I don't need you to hit me up and email me. You can do all of that later on. But if you're living carnally, I want you to do something basic. You ready? I want you to start praying. Set aside a specific time to pray. And if you need help, you can join us. We pray every morning at 6:30 a.m. and we pray every evening at 6:30 p.m. Every day. That's daily. That's daily. What does that do? That creates a routine of communicating with God. That's called the next step. And what we want to do is when you step up one, we want to keep stepping up. So we're taking and building steps to take next steps. So join us in daily prayer. The second thing we want you to do, if you're just living, give your life back to God. Rededicate your life back to Christ. That's the next step. How do you do that? Well, you can do that at our church by going to our website or our app and hitting connect. And I have a wonderful team. Listen, I am blessed beyond measure. And I joke a lot. I joke with them a lot. I play a lot with them. I love them all. We don't always get along, so don't think that's not a fairy tale type of thing. That's carnal to believe that you always going to get along. We are family. We are a church family. Family have ups and downs. But I'm telling you on this live, I will die for mine. I rock out with mine. And I don't mean die for mine in a carnal way. I mean, I will lay my life down for my members. I love them because they did not have to stick with me. They did not have to grow with me. They did not have to honestly seek the best. They did not have to overlook my flaws and my faults and my carnality and say, yo, this is the reality. That man really hears from God. And he has more wins in hearing from God than he does in not hearing from God. And I'm blessed because they're blessed, if that makes sense. It blesses me to tell them what the Lord is saying and not have to stand there and make something up, but hear from God and then him to fulfill that or bring that prophetic word to pass. It is an awesome thing. You can ask any one of them. And so I'm telling you, I rock out with them. So I'm saying that to you because you too can rock out with us. You can connect with us. I don't care where you are. I don't care what country you're in, what state you're in, what city you're in, what municipality you're in. I don't care if you're behind bars. I don't care where you are. You can rock out with us. And you may not like us, so connect with us and we'll send you somewhere else. But we just want you to get back into the fold. Okay? So, daily prayer, connect with us. And then finally, my brothers and my sisters, I'm finding out that a lot of people just don't know the basics of God, and that's okay. I got convicted today because my son told somebody, my dad's a pastor. And the boy said, well, what is that? And so the teacher said what it was. And then the young man said, well, what's a church? Hear what I'm saying to you. I don't know if we have stripped down all of the politics, the red tape, the bureaucracy to model this in such a way where people know what a church is. Church is not what we proclaim it to be or pretend it is. Boom, that part. That part right there. Church is not, my daughter said something 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago on her page about regular attendance or going to church or something like that. And I chimed in and basically said, and that's why we want you to develop a relationship. Your regular attendance helps you be strengthened by the body of believers, community of believers coming together. But by no means does it mean that you're unsaved because you aren't going to church every Sunday. We have to remember that. Pastors, preachers, we have to remember that. That's one of our carnal clergy collar things. Woo! I just said something that nobody gonna like. I'm telling you, I'm probably too transparent. And I'm not, but that's a preacher thing. Be here every week. Now hear me, that does not abdicate you for abandoning your assignment, because that's carnal too. However, what I'm saying to you is we have presented church in such a way where people don't know what church is and what it isn't. So I said all of that to say that your next step, your third step, and your final step is to get in a Bible-believing church. Get into a Bible study. Open up your word. Look, study your word so you'll know if what the person is saying is right. You have to learn how to rightly divide the word of truth for yourself. The word of God for yourself. You have pastors and preachers and teachers and leaders, but you need to spend time with God for yourself. How do I do that? Can I say something that you're probably going to think I'm trying to be funny, but I'm not? Open it up. Start in Genesis. Pick a topic. Open it up. Research for that topic. At least spend 20 minutes a day in your word. At least 20 minutes a day. Researching things that you really want to know about. You'll be surprised what God has said about some of the stuff that we're doing in this crazy world and our crazy carnal minds. I'm sorry, Leah, my daughter's going to get me for saying crazy. Mentally challenged. Boom, there it is, mentally challenged. And in this time, where a lot of us are mentally challenged because of our surroundings or the lack thereof, it's okay. I'm going to say something else that pastor's going to cut me off for, but it's okay to hit the pause button. Just don't let pause become so plausible that it becomes palatable to walk away. You hear what I'm saying to you? All right. I'm out of time. I wanted to do 30 minutes. And so the reality of carnality, that's the backdrop of this Bible study and this sermon series. I'm going to have people come on and teach. Me and Terry, we're going to do a tag team on this Bible study. I'm going to have some other people come, some other ministers, some other preachers, some other pastors. But I wanted to drop where the sermon series came from and how the Lord gave it to me. We want to help. That's what we're here for. And while we're helping, we're being helped. Don't ever forget that. I'm K. Samuel Brandon, Senior Pastor of the Standard for Life Christian Church. I love you. Peace out. My care callers are typing. They're going to give you all the pertinent information. Again, hit the like, hit the share. Go to our website. We have information there that will help you. It will bless your life. Peace out. And remember, Jesus is the standard for life.